There are moments when you look in the mirror and no longer recognize the person staring back at you, not because of time or age, but because something inside you has cracked. A part of you that was once strong, once believing, once eager to change, is now replaced by exhaustion, repetition, and the feeling that you are merely existing out of habit. You once thought the cause was your job, other people, the world out there. But one day you realize the thing that needs fixing is not your circumstances, but your mind. Every fundamental transformation begins within, and it ends there too. You've tried many ways. You've read books, listened to podcasts, and covered your walls with positive quotes. Each time it felt like a new beginning. Yet a few weeks later it all faded again. Not because you are weak, but because you were trying to fix your behavior while the root inside your mind was still decaying. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "The mind is an impregnable fortress, and no one can enter it unless we open the gate ourselves." Yet most people live their entire lives unaware of who they've let in. They allow fear, habits, and doubt to walk through the door. Over time, these guests take the throne. If you've ever woken up heavy without knowing why, if you've ever felt disappointed for repeating the same mistakes, pain, and endless cycle, then you are in the right place. Not to be comforted, but to be awakened. This is not a video to make you feel better. This is a video to help you see clearly. The Stoics called it the moment of facing the truth. No strength is born from denial. No freedom exists in blame. True freedom begins when you dare to look at yourself without hiding, avoiding, or pretending. Today you will hear 10 brutal Stoic rules, not to make you perfect, but to make you real. Not to help you escape pain, but to teach you how to stand firm within it. Because when you fix your mind, your life adjusts itself. No one can do that for you, but if you are still here and listening, you are ready. Write in the comments, "I am ready to rebuild myself." And from that moment, the journey begins. Rule 1. Face the truth. No one can rebuild themselves without the courage to face the truth. Not the truth you tell others, but the raw truth you avoid whenever you are alone. Most people are not afraid of failure. They are so scared of seeing its real reason. Because once they see it, there is no one left to blame but themselves. People say they fail because they lack opportunity, but the real reason is that they lack discipline. They say they were betrayed, but they ignore the signs that were always there. They say they cannot change because life is unfair, but they never honestly tried. The pain does not come from adversity, but from admitting that we are its source. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "If someone shows you that you are mistaken, rejoice, for they are bringing you closer to the truth." The Stoics never saw mistakes as shameful, but as opportunities. The truth never hurts anyone. It only touches the weak spots we keep trying to hide. And if you are brave enough to look at it, you begin the healing process. Look back at your life in silence. No philosophy, no excuses. Ask yourself one simple question. What truth am I avoiding? It may be the truth that you waste your mornings on your phone, or that you live to please others, or simply that you have never truly given your best. Whatever it is, please write it down. When the words appear, the lies lose their power. Facing the truth does not weaken you. It only strips away your disguise. The first pain is necessary, like a wound that must be opened to be cleaned. Because truth is the foundation of all change. Without it, every growth plan is a castle built on sand. But once you touch even a fragment, you are standing on the first solid ground of your life. Before you move on, pause for a moment. Write down one honest thing you have been avoiding for a long time. Just one. The moment you face it, you are already halfway through the path of transformation. And once you have faced the truth, you will meet a familiar instinct, the need to blame. It is the old reflex that brings comfort instead of responsibility. But the Stoics knew you cannot rule your life while living as its victim. The following rule will teach you the most critical step after seeing the truth. Stop playing the victim. Rule 2. Stop playing the victim. Human beings have a subtle habit. When they cannot control the outcome, they start rewriting the story to make themselves victims. They say, "I'm not successful because others are luckier. I'm not happy because they hurt me. I can't change because life is too hard." But they hand their power to someone else every time they say these words. And just like that, they lock themselves inside the role of the victim, waiting for the world to change instead of standing up for themselves. The Stoics never denied pain. They refused to let it define who they are. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "If something makes you suffer, it is not the thing itself, but your judgment about it." One person may lose their job and collapse, another may lose theirs and see the chance to be reborn. The same circumstance, two different choices, because one holds onto the role of the victim while the other holds onto the power of response. When you say "I can't," you are training your mind to believe you can't. When you say "I have no choice," you forget that silence is a choice. Every complaint is a brick in the wall that imprisons you. And only when you take full responsibility for your actions and reactions can you break that wall down. Look back at your day. What made you angry, disappointed, or feel unfairly treated? Instead of asking, "Why did they do that?" ask, "How did I allow it to affect me?" That question opens the door to inner freedom. Because freedom doesn't come from things going your way. It comes from staying steady even when they don't. Tell yourself, "No one is responsible for me. No one can live for me. No one can save me but myself." Say it enough times and you will feel a quiet shift. Not a burst of strength, but a calm solidity, as if your feet are finally touching the real ground. If today there's something you've been blaming someone for, try rewriting that story from the ownership perspective. Just one sentence, short and honest. That's the first step in breaking free from the victim role and stepping into the role of the sovereign self. Because once you stop blaming, you begin to see clearly that life is not against you but training you. And to learn that lesson, you must enter the uncomfortable space where discipline and strength are born. That is the following rule. You will learn to accept and embrace discomfort as an essential part of the path to true power. Rule 3. Embrace discomfort. Most people do not collapse because of tragedy, but because they are too fragile to endure the small things. A little cold, a bit of criticism, a day that doesn't go their way. They immediately complain, avoid, and find ways to soothe themselves. They call it self-care, but often it is simply a new form of escape. The Stoics understood that all growth begins with the acceptance of discomfort. No steel is forged in warmth, and no strong mind is born in comfort. Seneca once wrote, "I train myself to hardship not because I love it, but because I want to be certain that when it comes, I will not fear it." He knew pain was part of freedom. When you dare to endure, pain loses its power. When you avoid it, it returns in a greater form. Like the body, the mind only grows stronger through challenge. If you always choose the easy road, you teach yourself to become weaker daily. Look at a single morning. One person rises early, even as their body resists. Another pulls the blanket for 5 more minutes. One begins the day with strength, the other with surrender. No one sees the difference right away, but after a year one has discipline, the other has excuses. The distance between them is the distance between emotion and action. The Stoics trained endurance through small acts such as cold showers, simple meals, walking instead of sitting, and silently turning off the phone. They did not do it to show toughness, but to remind themselves that they still ruled over body and mind. When you can endure the small things, the big ones cannot break you. Discomfort is not the enemy. It is a strict teacher. Every time you face it, you lay another brick in your inner fortress. 1 minute of discipline in exhaustion is worth more than 10 minutes of inspiration. Because inspiration fades, but endurance remains. Tomorrow, when you face a moment that makes you want to step back, do not run. Stay 5 seconds longer, take one more breath. Watch what happens when you don't escape. You will realize the fear was never about discomfort itself, but about losing control. And once you go through it, you reclaim that control. Today, do not choose what is easy. Do one small thing that makes you uncomfortable. Wake up earlier. Stay silent when you want to react. Focus 5 minutes longer when your mind wants to quit. Each act whispers to yourself, I am still in command. Because discomfort is only a test, and the one who passes it is the one who has discipline. That is where the following path begins. You no longer depend on motivation, but live by principle. Work with discipline, not with emotion. Top of form, bottom of form. Rule 4. Discipline over emotion. Emotions are clouds. They come, they go, and if you let them steer your ship, you will never reach where you are meant to go. One day you feel motivated, work, train, and read. The next day you wake up tired, unmotivated, and everything falls apart. And so you live in a cycle of excitement and delay, strong beginnings, and quiet endings. The Stoics understood that you will never have true freedom if you live by emotion. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself each morning, when you wake, remember your duty as a human being, not to act when you feel inspired, but to act because it is your duty. Discipline is what holds you steady when feelings fade. It does not ask if you are happy or ready. It only asks, will you keep your promise to yourself? A person who acts only when they feel like it is a slave to their moods. But the one who has discipline acts even when tired, afraid, and no one is watching, because they know that what determines the result is not the moment's emotion, but the consistent action done in silence. Discipline is not coldness, it is loyalty to your chosen path. You cannot wait for the right feeling to begin. You act first, and the feeling follows. The Stoics never asked whether they felt motivated today. They only asked, did I fulfill my duty? That is the kind of freedom emotion can never give. Start small. Set the alarm and wake up on time. There is no negotiation. Write down 3 tasks and finish them, rain or shine. Keep your word to yourself, even in the most minor things. Each act of discipline strengthens the belief that you can rely on yourself, and that belief is the root of all inner strength. There will be days when everything feels meaningless, when your effort seems to change nothing, but those are the real tests. When you keep working in silence, even when no one praises you, you are forging something greater than success and building character. Remember, emotion is a guest, discipline is the master. If you let the guest lead, your house will fall apart. But if you let discipline rule, emotion will serve its place. And someday, when you look back, you will see that every freedom you have found was built from the days you persisted when you felt nothing. If today you are waiting for inspiration to begin, stop waiting. Stand up, work in silence, even if it's just one small act, because every time you choose discipline over emotion, you win against yourself. which is the only victory that matters. When discipline becomes a habit, you will see a more profound truth. Life does not need much to be enough. What exhausts people is not lack, but excess. And that is where Rule 5 will lead you to the art of simplicity, the freedom that comes from needing less. Rule 5. Simplify your life. We often think life is complicated because the world out there is chaotic, but most of the chaos lives inside us. In rooms cluttered with things we don't need, in phones flooded with notifications, in minds that always want one more thing: more money, more attention, more praise, more goals. Then we wonder why we are exhausted and why our heads feel heavy when the answer is simple. We are carrying too much that was never ours to have. The Stoics did not seek poverty, they sought freedom. Seneca once wrote, "A rich man does not have much but one who needs little." Every time you let go of something unnecessary, you reclaim a piece of peace. Every time you stop comparing, you return to yourself a measure of dignity. Life does not become greater by adding more, but by learning to subtract. Look around you, how many things truly serve your peace and how many only fill the silence. The shirt you bought feels fine. The car you changed so others would notice. The conversations you keep so you won't feel lonely. Each of these has a cost. The silence you have lost. The Stoics practiced simplicity not because they despised the material world, but because they knew the mind can only be strong when unbound. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "Those who live simply cannot be robbed of their peace." A simple life is not a lesser life, but a clearer one. When you know what truly matters, the rest becomes noise. Start small. Each week remove one item you don't use. Each day spend an hour without touching your phone. Write down 3 things you are grateful for each night instead of 3 things you lack. The more you let go, the clearer you see. The less you demand, the more you feel enough. A clean room doesn't just lighten your space, it trains your mind to release. A simple life is never a poor life. It is a way of telling yourself, "I need nothing more to feel complete." In that lessening, you begin to hear the quiet voice within the one buried beneath noise, comparison, and concern. Tonight, before you sleep, turn off every device. Sit in the quiet of your room and look around. No notifications, no background music, no one waiting for your reply. Just you and your breath. If you feel empty, don't fear it. That space is where peace begins to grow again. Once you learn to simplify the world outside, you'll discover a louder noise than the one inside your mind. And that is where Rule 6 will lead you. To keep your inner silence, even when the world outside never stops shouting. Rule 6. Keep the silence within. Silence is not the absence of noise around you. It is when your mind stops being pulled by every noise around it. The world today is louder than ever. From the moment you open your eyes, you are surrounded by notifications, messages, news demands, and opinions no one asked for. The more connected we are, the easier it is to lose ourselves. Because when the mind is always reaching outward, it forgets how to return inward. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "People seek peace in the mountains or by the sea, yet they forget that peace resides within their minds." He wasn't speaking about escaping the world, but about holding your center amid the storm. The Stoics did not need a silent world to be calm. They learned to stay calm within the noise. You can see this clearly in moments of conflict. One person gets insulted and reacts instantly, argues, defends, and loses peace all day. Another person hears the same insult, smiles, takes a deep breath, and continues their work. Not because they are weak, but because they understand that not everything deserves a reaction. Their silence is not submission, it is strength. Your mind is like a lake. When the wind blows, the surface ripples and the reflection distorts. But when the wind settles, the water clears again. Those who live in inner stillness are not the ones without wind, but the ones who let the wind pass without muddying the water. They do not allow the words, events, or emotions of others to invade their inner peace. Try practicing this each morning. Before touching your phone, sit still for 5 minutes and listen to your breath. Let the world's noise slow down long enough for you to hear yourself again. And when emotions rise during the day, don't rush to respond. Pause, breathe, observe. That slight pause is where silence begins. Inner silence is not an escape, it is the foundation of power. It allows you to choose instead of react, listen instead of judge, and see the essence instead of the surface. When your inner world stays calm, no one can truly disturb it. Tonight, before sleep, turn off every device. Sit in the dark for a few minutes and listen to your breathing. Do nothing, expect nothing. Sit there as the guardian of your own peace. Because when you can stay silent while the world screams, you have found what many spend a lifetime searching for: true inner strength. And when you have learned to be still within yourself, you will realize that no one can stay strong alone forever. Everyone needs companions who respect that silence instead of breaking it. That is why Rule 7 will teach you something essential about choosing your companions wisely. Rule 7. Choose the right companions. No one can build a strong life surrounded by those who pull them down. Your environment doesn't just influence you, it slowly becomes you. Even a strong mind will weaken if it lives among people who constantly complain, compare, and blame. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "We were born to work together like hands and feet of the same body." Yet he also reminded us that not everyone deserves to walk beside you on your path. The Stoics understood that choosing the proper companions is an act of discipline. If you spend time with people without direction, you will soon lose your own. If you live among those filled with negativity, it will seep into you like smoke in a closed room. No matter how strong the mind is shaped by what it hears, sees, and stays around the most. Look closely at your circle. Is there someone who always talks about others' failures but never acts on their own life? Someone who makes you defend yourself when you share something good? Someone who only appears when they need something from you? These people don't need your hate, only your distance, not out of arrogance but out of self-respect. Epictetus once warned, "If you spend time with those who complain, you will learn to complain." The opposite is true. Walking beside those who take responsibility will teach you the strength of silence. A disciplined, calm, and honest person will make you reflect on yourself, not through their words, but through their presence. Choosing the proper companions is not about finding people like you, but those who hold on to their values even when no one is watching. They may speak little, but they act. They don't rush to advise, but they listen. They don't polish their image, but their quiet steadiness makes you want to rise. Those are the people worth keeping. Look at the people you see most often. Do they make you better, or do they make you pretend to be someone else? If the answer isn't clear, that itself is the answer. A true friend doesn't make you feel small, they make you want to grow. Tonight, try something simple. Write down 3 people who bring you peace and 3 who make you tense. No judgment, just clarity. Every relationship exchanges energy. It either lifts you up or quietly drains you. The Stoics were not loners, but they practiced purposeful solitude. They knew walking alone was better than being led off your path. When you walk beside those who value silence and discipline, the road no longer feels heavy. Once you've chosen the proper companions, you will soon see that your true enemies are not people, but the obstacles, the hardships, and the detours along your journey. Yet, with the right mindset, every obstacle can become your teacher. That is what Rule 8 will teach you. How to turn the barriers into the way forward. Rule 8. Turn obstacles into the way. Everyone wishes for a smooth road in life, but that very wish makes most people fall early. Because when hardship appears, they see it as a sign of failure, proof that the universe is against them. The Stoics saw it differently. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The obstacle in the path becomes the path." If seen rightly, every obstacle is not blocking the journey, it is the journey. Without it, you would learn nothing. When a person meets failure, they have two choices: to stop and complain, or to observe and learn. The first sees a wall, the second sees a lesson, and only the second goes far. Obstacles do not come to break you, they come to reveal you. They do not destroy, they strip away what is weak so that you can see what is strong. Think back to your own setbacks. The job you lost, the relationship that ended, the health that declined you, once thought those moments had ruined you. But time showed that those losses forced you to change, wake up, and grow. What we call tragedy is often the first step of transformation. The Stoics never prayed for an easy road, they prayed for the strength to walk any road. Seneca once said, "Difficulty is what trains the mind." As the body resists gravity, the spirit becomes stronger by facing resistance. Each disappointment you endure adds another weight to the muscles of your soul. You forge steadiness each moment, you resist complaining in the face of delay. Try shifting your perspective. When something frustrates you, ask, "What is this trying to teach me?" When a plan fails, ask, "How can I rebuild it better?" When someone hurts you, ask, "How can I stay calm in this storm?" Each question turns the obstacle into an ally, and you, from a reactor, become a creator. Sometimes lessons arrive as pain because we finally look inward only through pain. But once you learn to welcome what you didn't want, you will realize life was never against you. It was constantly training you to become worthy of what you seek. If something has drained or defeated you today, try to see it as a teacher, not as comfort but as awareness. What part of you is it asking to evolve? Once you understand that the pain transforms into power and the path no longer feels hostile. The Stoics never sought an easy life, they sought resilience. They never said, "Why me?" They said, "Because it is me, I can bear it." And when you live with that spirit, every obstacle becomes part of your way, not your enemy. When you learn to turn obstacles into the way, you begin to see a more profound truth. No lesson endures unless you keep your promises to yourself. That is what Rule 9 will teach. The essence of self-respect lies in keeping your own word. Top of form, bottom of form. Rule 9. Keep your promises to yourself. Nothing destroys inner strength faster than constantly breaking the promises you make to yourself. Whenever you say, "I'll start tomorrow," and don't you weaken your trust in your word. Every time you promise to change but repeat the same habits, you teach your mind that your words carry no weight. That is how people lose self-respect without even noticing it. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself, "Live as if today were your last, and do what is right, even when no one is watching." He knew that proper discipline doesn't need an audience. It is built through quiet choices, doing the right thing when no one sees, continuing when motivation fades, and keeping your word simply because you said you would. The Stoics didn't believe in words, they believed in action. A person can read hundreds of books and speak of philosophy, freedom, and peace, but his words will echo in the wind if he doesn't live what he says. The truly strong are those who speak little, but every word they utter carries value because they have paid the price to honor it. Keeping your promises to yourself doesn't mean being perfect. It means not running away when tired, not making excuses when challenged, and not betraying yourself for comfort. Sometimes the promise is simple. Wake up on time, finish the work, and stay silent instead of reacting. But it is these small acts that form the foundation of strength. Look back at your week. What did you promise yourself but never follow through on? Which habit did you begin but abandon? Choose one and commit to it for 7 days, not perfectly, just faithfully, because every small promise you keep rebuilds your self-trust brick by brick. Seneca once wrote, "Nothing is more shameful than failing to do what you know is right." When you begin to keep your word, you'll stand taller, speak less, and feel calmer. You are finally honest with yourself because you no longer need to prove yourself to anyone. That is a confidence no praise or title can give. Tonight, before you sleep, write down one promise you will keep tomorrow. Go to bed on time. Avoid your phone for 10 minutes, or wake without scrolling through the noise. When you do it, pause and feel that quiet pride, the feeling of trusting yourself again. Keeping your word to yourself is the foundation of freedom, because if you cannot trust yourself, you will always depend on the approval of others. But when you know you'll do what you say, you no longer need anyone to believe in you. You have become the most reliable person in your own life. And once you can keep that promise, you are ready for the final step, where all your discipline, silence, and strength unite into something greater. Rule 10 is learning to live for a mission, not for a passing mood. Rule 10. Live for a mission, not for motivation. Most people live by emotion. When they feel inspired, they work. When they feel tired, they stop. When praised, they push harder. When criticized, they give up. Their life becomes a boat drifting in the sea, with no compass or direction, waiting for the wind to be kind. The Stoics did not live this way. They did not depend on moods, they lived by mission. And that is why they stood firm, even when the world fell apart. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "Do not act as if you were going to live forever. Death hangs over you. Be good while you live, while it is in your power." To him, living with a mission was not about chasing a grand dream, but about living with integrity, awake, helpful, and faithful to one's soul. A mission is not something you find out there. It's something you build day by day through your choices. Motivation is a flame that burns fast and dies. Mission is a quiet fire that never goes out. The person who lives by motivation acts only when they feel right. The one who lives by mission acts even when no one claps, even when nothing is specific. Because they know a mission does not need excitement, it requires loyalty. Look at your own life. What have you said I want to do but keep postponing simply because the spark has faded? Ask yourself, if I had to do this even when no one noticed, would I still do it? If the answer is yes, that is your mission. It doesn't need applause or attention, only your quiet commitment. A person with a mission is not easily shaken. They may get tired and feel pain, but they don't quit. Because they understand emotions are waves and that the mission is the shore. And every time a wave rises, they do not fight it, they stand until it passes. When you live for something larger than yourself, everyday struggles grow smaller. Every task has meaning. Every day has a purpose. Seneca once said, "If a man does not know to what port he is sailing, no wind is favorable." Your mission is the wind inside your chest. It keeps you from drifting with trends, comparisons, or opinions. When you live by mission, You stop asking, "What do they think of me?" and ask, "Does what I do serve what I believe?" Tonight, sit down and write one short sentence. I live to. Please don't make it sound wise, make it real. Maybe it's I live to become calmer each day, or I live to help others suffer less than I did, or I live never to betray myself. That sentence becomes your anchor, the vow you return to whenever you lose direction. When you live by mission, you no longer need motivation. You already know what must be done. Each day becomes a small part of your duty. Each act is a brick in your life's fortress. One day you'll realize that you no longer chase motivation because living rightly has become your deepest source of strength. The Stoics did not live to be admired, they lived to be true. Not to defeat others, but to never lose to themselves. And when all emotions fade, the mission remains a steady flame, lighting the road through darkness. When you understand this, you'll look back on your journey from facing the truth to refusing victimhood to embracing discomfort, mastering discipline, simplifying life, guarding inner silence, choosing the proper companions, turning obstacles into the way, keeping your promises, and now living for your mission. 10 rules, yet truly one path. The path of mastering yourself. In the end, fixing your mind is fixing your life. No one can do it for you. Every philosophy, every teaching, every rule is just a map, but the walking is yours alone. So when this journey ends, take the next step in silence. Let your actions speak louder than your words. That is the Stoic way. No promises, no boasting, only living and becoming. The fortress within. We have walked through 10 rules, not 10 separate lessons, but 10 stones laid to form the foundation of a fortress within the mind. Each rule is a wall, a pillar, a quiet corner you can return to when the world outside turns to chaos. Because true strength is not about where you arrive, but how you stand firm in the storm. The Stoics never sought perfection, they sought truth. They did not ask for an easier path, they trained their steps to endure the hard one. They knew peace is not a prize, but a discipline forged through each failure, each moment of silence, each morning. You choose to rise instead of complain. And one day you will realize no one can truly hurt you anymore. Not because you've become cold, but because you've become strong enough not to need saving. You save yourself with truth, discipline, and loyalty to your soul. That is the moment you become free. That is when the fortress within stands complete. If this journey has touched you, share it with someone who needs it, someone who feels lost and still believes they must run faster to be enough. Please send them this reminder. Peace is not out there. It begins the moment you dare to look within. And if you wish to continue this journey to build your inner fortress alongside others walking the modern Stoic path of calm, discipline, and freedom, subscribe to Sovereign Stoic. Each video is a brick, and each lesson is a piece of the wall you are building. Let this line echo before you go. No one can take your mind unless you give it away. Hold it. Hold yourself. And if today you begin to live by even one of these 10 rules, then you have already stepped through the gates of your inner fortress. Share this journey. Someone needs the quiet fire you have just found somewhere out there.